All right. Welcome to Rich Conversations. This is another special episode. We have Rafael Añorga, and he's joining us. He is originally from Peru, but he's at University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and we're going to talk about technology and all sorts of things. I'm really excited. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Rick. Thank you so much for inviting me here.
So this is for those listening and watching. We're recording this on a Saturday night. And that's kind of what my nights come down to, or my like weekends. I'm like fascinated about technology, and Rafael's going to help us understand CRISPR, the technology of CRISPR and biology, all sorts of fun stuff. I'm excited. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, hello, everyone. As Rick said, I'm Rafael. I'm currently from Peru, and I am a transfer student, and I'm a senior in biology here at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And well, I'm really excited to talk about biotechnology today. So what do we have?
Okay. Well, first, before we get into the technology, we got to pump the brakes a little bit, because in the episode, we're going to talk about CRISPR, which I'm so fascinated to learn more about, because like I feel like I'm very interested in like biotechnology and like how like biology and technology, we're going to use it in the 21st century to live longer, healthier, and happier. CRISPR is like this. Well, we'll talk about it later. Right now, I want to know a little bit about Peru. So like,
for sure,
what's the general vibe in Peru?
Okay, so the vibe in Peru, I'll say it's quite different than the US, like regarding the grading system. When I came here to U of I, the grading system was incredibly different than the one I have previously in Peru, and it was quite hard to adapt. Then, well, in terms of how the vibe is around the country, the food and the culture are like amazing.
The what? You said the food?
Yeah, the food and the culture.
Yeah, the food. I have eaten Peruvian food this last summer. Yeah, what do you call that purple drink?
Chichamora?
Yeah, that stuff is so good.
So amazing, right?
Yeah. Oh man, it's so good. And there's some great steaks. It was like we had some steak at the Peruvian restaurant. It's pretty nice. Okay, so what about the culture? What's it like?
So, well, have you ever heard about Machu Picchu?
Yes.
I've been there before. We have like all the Inca history, how the Spanish came to South America, how they came to Peru. Like the country is also divided in 3 separate regions. We have the coast, the jungle, and the mountains. And in every single region, we have like different traditions.
Really? Can you elaborate on that? That's really interesting. You said
yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you're not familiar with geography, Peru is right on the coast, the west coast of South America. So, and it has the Andes running through it. It's a very prominent mountain range. So you have the mountains, and then the other side, all jungle. Yeah, elaborate on that.
Yes. So usually, when it comes to the coast, like the 3 regions, like they have different traditions, different food styles. Like the really big city in Peru, like the capital Lima, that's basically the big city in the whole country. The other rest of Peru is like rural areas, you know?
Yeah.
And when you go to the mountains, it's such like another vibe. There's like, I don't know, there's like so many like temples from the Incas, all the same thing when you go to the jungle. And when you go to Cusco, where Machu Picchu is, you have like the Temple of the Sun, you have Machu Picchu as well, you have Sacsayhuaman. There's such a lot of places to visit there.
Yeah, so you've been to Machu Picchu?
I've been there once, yes.
Yeah. So that's a place I would love to go sometime in my life.
It's quite a walk.
How long is it?
So usually you need to take a flight from Lima, which is probably a couple hours. And after that, you got to take a train, which is around 3 hours to Machu Picchu. And then like the whole walking around the area is gonna take you like probably half the day.
But for those listening, like Machu Picchu is one of the ancient wonders of the world, right?
Yes. It was like the well, some people in Peru describe it as the beach house for this Inca emperor, and it was like so hidden in the mountains that actually the Spanish who came to conquer South America, they never knew about this place.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So what was it like when you're there, up at the top?
Oof. Well, so Machu Picchu is divided into two parts. You have like the main city of Machu Picchu, but then you have the Huayna Picchu, which is like a mountain behind the city, where I think it was like a cemetery, a spiritual cemetery. I wasn't able to go all the way up there, but when I was there, it was pretty cool, to be honest. Like the Inca architecture was so precise. I mean, it was a
Do you know much about the Incan Empire?
I mean, I know a little bit about it. I'm not like too related with it. I just know that their architectural style was amazing. It was like incredibly precise. They used to bring the rocks down the river all the way up the hill to Machu Picchu just to start building the city up.
Wow. What do they like in school? What are some of the like most prominent things when you're going through like the educational system in Peru? Like what are like three big moments that they really stress as part of the education, history wise of the country?
What do you mean? Like, how do we emphasize history around Peru?
Yeah, like what are some notable things? Like in America, we all learn about like the founding fathers, the Civil
Oh, yes.
War, World War II. Like, what do they
Yeah.
teach in Peru that are like really big moments
So
in country's history?
we learn mostly how the Spanish came to Peru, that's for sure.
Okay.
Then we learn like the classic traditions of the Incas, the whole Tahuantinsuyan Empire. We also know a little bit about like world education, of course.
Mhm.
We were taught about World War II, World War One,
Yeah.
but they basically teach us like a little bit of everything. But they like to focus in more in the story of the country.
Okay. Yeah. So then what brought you to Chicago or
Well,
Illinois, I should say?
well, that's quite a long story. So back in 2018, to be honest, I didn't have an idea that I was gonna come to Chicago specifically. But okay, back in 2018, my brother got an accident, right? And he basically broke his leg. So in Peru, because the medicine is not that advanced, they wanted to make like a knee replacement for a 15-year-old kid. And my parents were like, there's no way we're gonna do that.
Mm.
So we actually flew to Miami just to see a doctor to see his thoughts. And he was like, it's not a big deal. He doesn't need a knee replacement. We'll treat him here super quick. So I went to his like recovery rehabilitation. And one of those days we were bored and I was like, hey, so how about if we just go visit University of Miami? Like, sounds fun, right?
Yeah.
So we went there. And after making the whole tour and everything, I was amazed to start with how the universities here in America are so big compared to the universities in Peru. And I was like, can I come to study to the US, please? And my parents were like, okay, do your best. Like, try it out. And if you get admitted, go ahead. And when I started to apply to universities, I actually looked into University of Miami. I looked into University of Oklahoma and University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And I chose this university specifically because of the engineering ranking. I used to be a bioengineering before coming to U of I studied that for 2.5 years.
Okay.
So when I get admitted to U of I think I basically screamed, but I was like, yeah, U of okay, I'm gonna sign here like 100%. And I signed without coming to the state before. I didn't know anything.
Wow. Wow. That's really interesting. So you were set on experiencing an American university and one that was focused on engineering more so.
Yes.
Wow. And now, okay, so now you're a senior and
I'm
you're
a senior.
studying what
Biology.
biology.
Yeah, it was quite like it was quite a change because apparently U of I did not take bioengineering students for transfer, specifically for international transfers, and they wanted me to apply for from scratch, even though I already got like 2.5 years of of that career back in
Yeah.
Peru. So I was like, I don't think that's the right move. The education here like costs quite a bit of money, so I'm just gonna go with the offer they gave me, which was being a chemical engineer.
Okay. So
And
yeah, go ahead.
oh yeah, and well, after being like a whole semester in there, like I realized this is not what I want. I want to be more focused into pharmaceuticals and all of that stuff, but chemical engineer here is more focused into the industry. And to be honest, I didn't like that. So I was like, I think I should go back to biology here.
What do you mean by um in the industry?
Okay, so they're mostly focused like in plants, industrial plants.
Okay.
They mostly teach you for that, and I was not like interested into that. I was mostly interested into research.
Okay. So that brings us to what like originally sparked your interest in biology?
Oof. Well, something that sparked my interest in biology was basically to know what was going on, because like while I was taking my engineering in Peru, like I realized how much help like the world needs in terms of medicine for quite a bit of specific conditions, right? When I came to U of I and I took like the first introductory biology class, it was like, okay, this is basically like another world, and I want to know about it because it's a future.
Yeah, it's the future. What do you mean by that? Elaborate on that.
Well, to start with, like CRISPR, which was, I will say recently discovered. It was, yeah, back in the 2000s. Like CRISPR right now is the future. We can talk about it later. Like, but there's so many applications on that.
Why don't we get into it right now?
Okay.
Describe for listeners and viewers what is CRISPR.
Well, CRISPR in the most simple terms here is a tool for gene editing. I think you can have with it many applications in the medical system, such as for people are right now trying to use it to cure syndromes like Down syndrome, maybe Alzheimer's. Also, they're using it in crop sciences. And actually, I just saw a study like probably a couple of weeks ago where some people were trying actually to cure blindness with CRISPR.
So these are some big challenges that this is potentially can solve. What exactly is CRISPR? Is it a technology? Is it a stem cell, or what exactly is it?
Well, so if we go back a little bit in time, CRISPR is something found in bacteria. The most common meaning of a bacteria is a bacteriophage. And CRISPR, it was basically a system localized inside the bacterial DNA that helped to combat the bacteriophages. So it was like a defense mechanism.
So is CRISPR like an actual biological thing, or is it a technology?
No, it's actually a thing that happens in bacteria, and they use it to defend against bacteriophages, which is a kind of viruses which infect bacteria.
Okay, so how does it work?
CRISPR? Okay, so if we want to talk a little bit about biology here.
Please do.
Okay, so CRISPR. Okay, so we're gonna go about this. We have a DNA sequence, right? Let's imagine we have a DNA sequence of a bacteria, right?
Yeah.
And a bacteriophage comes and they're like, oh, I like this bacteria. I'm just gonna insert my RNA here. The genome of the bacteria has already in like his system, like saved that sequence that the bacteriophage is infecting to the bacteria. So as soon as the bacteria detects that sequence, he's gonna synthesize this protein called the Cas9. the Cas9 has a helicase activity, and by that I mean that it can cut through the genome. So the bacteriophage is gonna come, it's gonna infect the bacteria with that RNA. The bacteria is gonna synthesize the Cas9, and the Cas9 is just gonna destroy the genome.
So so it's gene editing, right?
Yes.
What makes it? Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, when it comes to gene editing, so there's like another mechanisms involved in CRISPR, for example, sgRNA. And when it comes to gene editing, like in research, what we use is a sgRNA. The sgRNA is something that is like a sequence of probably 20 nucleotides long that is gonna pair up with a sequence of your interest. And the sgRNA works as a guide for the Cas9 to go like, oh, here you are, I'm just gonna cut here.
So what makes it different than, say, like we've heard terms like genetically modified foods or seeds, or like what makes this technology or breakthrough different than before, when we've been able to like edit genes in a way or manipulate them in a way?
Well, this technology actually is quite cheap. As like, actually the doctor who discovered CRISPR, I think her name is Jennifer Doudna. She said, yeah, CRISPR compared to other gene editing tools, this one is way cheaper and way more effective.
So that's the big thing, is like it's astronomically cheaper than everything else.
Yes, it's way cheaper, and I feel that I think it's quite easier to use if you know like all the theory behind it, because each organism is different. But okay, whatever with which organism you want to work with, like you gotta know how to apply for it.
So is it the same? So has this so the reason it's let me think. So this is like a really big deal in the science community.
Yes.
Is it because it's just that much cheaper than everything else? Is that the big thing? Or
yeah, it's like because like mostly everyone can get their hands on it, to be honest. And there is where it comes to bioethics, because like I remember like a while ago that I think there was this Chinese doctor called Dr. He, who was able to actually modify the whole organism of a fetus back in China. Mm-hmm. And it involved such a big controversy with CRISPR.
Yeah, that's okay. So what are, okay, so to summarize CRISPR, it's a gene editing tool.
Yes.
That we can apply and take out certain DNA that creates this or that.
Yes.
And we can do it much cheaper. That it makes us it allows us, it's so cheap that it allows us to do it.
Yes. And it also works like to knock out genes specifically. There's like editing genes and knocking out the gene. Knocking out the gene is like basically shutting it off. So it's no longer functional.
Okay. So what are the potential, like what is the range of things that CRISPR can do?
To be honest, up to this point, I feel the possibilities are quite infinite. Like people have been trying to solve Down syndrome, Alzheimer's. People have also been trying to change the pigmentation of your eyes with CRISPR.
So it's infinite.
I will say yes, because like as I said, it's a tool to edit your genes. Like every single gene in your body is gonna code for something, and it's gonna show a different phenotype. So you can basically do anything with it.
So that's all with living people. Or
Yes. Also, it works with plants, though. That's where my research right now is focused in crop sciences.
okay. So, but people are most excited about applying this to humans, right?
Yes, because some people actually feel that CRISPR is like the solution for these kind of diseases.
So could that, okay, so theoretically this stuff can happen. How applicable, how soon is it applicable, or is it applied already?
I'm pretty sure, I mean, if I'm being right, like actually some people have been saying like they have to start experimenting like CRISPR in humans to see the effects. But as I said, for example, here in the US, this needs to be like really controlled, I would say, because like then we have something like to what happened in China. Like this doctor comes here and like modify the whole organism of a fetus. I don't think that's like ethical.
So the question with this type of stuff is like the United States could say, or like United States, like NATO or United Nations could say, we agree on this for bioethics. But what's not to say that another country goes rogue and
Mm-hmm.
views something differently about it?
Yeah, because I think in China there's no limitations to experiment with fetuses, but here in the US there definitely is.
Okay. What excites you most about CRISPR?
It's just the fact that you are able to change. For example, you're able to knock out a disease. You are able like to cure people.
So if like how okay, so if I'm um it's almost like by saying you have like it can do infinite things, it's hard to come up with examples of what it could do. So we have say Alzheimer's, right?
Alzheimer's. Yep.
Someone with Alzheimer's right now could we using CRISPR eliminate their Alzheimer's and they'd be
Some
like
people are
fine
trying to.
again.
Yes, some people are trying to because like Alzheimer's is made by the protein misfolding, and people are trying actually to look into the gene that causes that. So what they want to do is like apply CRISPR to that specific gene, so no protein misfolding, you know, happens, and Alzheimer doesn't happen.
So there's like so then that's it. They don't have Alzheimer's anymore.
I can I'm not quite sure how it works, but that's the whole point of this.
So someone wakes up, say they're like 83 years old and they have Alzheimer's. Is that well, I
Okay.
don't know the median age of Alzheimer's, but so they have Alzheimer's and then one day they go in for a procedure and then they come out and they don't have Alzheimer's. Like,
To be honest, like I'm not 100% sure if it works like that. I don't think it will be like that easy, but I mean, if it's a possibility, yes. But I think CRISPR also has like the limitations of in which age you should apply it, right? Because it's like if you apply it in your early childhood, you still have like your whole life to develop your organism. But if you apply it when you're like 83 years old, it's quite hard to, to insert a gene and let your body get used to that gene.
so this gets into the like, so you and I are
Mm-hmm.
young
Yes.
and this technology can be applied throughout our lifetimes, but someone who's older is going to miss out on this, right?
It can be, yes, because of their organism. Their organism is not like such metabolic advance as ours. Your metabolism like slows over the course of the years, right?
Yeah.
And right now we're in a really young age where we have our metabolism at the top, and I think it will be easier for us to adapt if we were inserted to CRISPR than for people who are already like 83 years old. Plus, once you like get older and older and older, there's gonna be like more mutations in your DNA, which actually can trigger cancer. It can trigger such a bunch of stuff, to be honest.
Wait, say that again. So as you get older,
As you get older, you are more susceptible to get like, for example, cancer and other diseases, right?
okay,
It's
that makes
because like
sense.
when it's because like also your organism like it's gonna confront mutations, and those mutations are actually gonna, maybe you have cancer or maybe Alzheimer's disease or another kind of disorders.
So young people right now, we this technology comes out. It looks like it looks like we can live healthier as we get older, right?
Yes.
With some of these things. And that's exciting for us, right? That's pretty cool. What about someone who's a toddler right now? Like, what will this mean for them in their lifetime?
For people who are like older?
Toddler, like 2-3 years old.
Actually, that's where it comes like the main like point in bioethics as well, is because like let's say something who is like just a newborn or between the first 5 years of their life, right? Let's say they got Down syndrome, right? They can use CRISPR to actually knock out the gene of which causes Down syndrome, and they can live a pretty normal life.
This is what'd you say the cutoff was?
Oh, to cut off the gene that causes Down syndrome, and after that, they can have a pretty normal life.
But like, at what? This can happen at any age, potentially.
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest, but most of the research are actually trying to focus on like newborns, just because of that, because like their metabolism is still young and their organism is still young, so they have their whole lifetime to develop.
That's what I'm curious about. Like, on the scale, we now have this gene editing ability.
Yes.
On this like human life cycle scale right now, as it sits, like you and I are fairly young. We're leaning towards the younger part of the scale. Is it like, do you have to, the closer you are to being a newborn, the easier in your lifetime it will be to apply this stuff?
The easier it gets, yes.
Right. I guess so. My question with this is, did we miss out? Are we part of it still, or are we like right in a great spot?
I think we are just in that great spot, to be honest, because like we're still young. We have like a whole life ahead of us. So yeah. I think it's still possible for people of our age to apply it.
Do you feel like the technology, the biotechnology of CRISPR will get better and better and better as far as
most definitely, yes.
Why do you feel things like this in biotechnology will be common in our lifetime?
You mean like in the future?
Yeah.
Because like nowadays, like we have people trying to look up for solutions for everything. So I'm pretty sure that this field is gonna increase over the next years, to be honest. There's a high demand when it comes to people who know how to handle these mechanisms.
And they're going to want to teach more and more people how to do this stuff.
Exactly. And my prediction for this is just like over the next 10 or 20 years, this technology is just going to grow exponentially.
So yeah, like how do they, when it comes to bioethics, like who has to agree to what, and like what, is it by country? Is it by, and like what potential like dangers are there, or like gray areas of it?
Something that is really controversial right now, specifically these days with CRISPR, is it's just like, let's say we genetically modified, like let's say a human newborn just to be smarter. I don't know how is that possible, but people will be like, oh well, he has an advantage on us because like he was genetically modified and he's gonna be smarter than us, and that can cause some discrimination upon us.
So something I'm curious about is, like right now when we talk about discrimination, it's a lot about skin color, ethnicity. Will there be a point where the discrimination is against like it's like genetically modified humans and then like non-genetically modified, like
Sadly,
born
I think
humans?
so. Yes,
Yeah.
sadly, I think so. Yes. Yep. Specifically for like for job appliances, let's say, someone who has like this syndrome or these problems, and this guy was born with the same syndromes and same problems, but he was CRISPR, so he doesn't have them anymore. He's gonna get a job. And that takes into disadvantage that people who actually have like these diseases they're not able to afford it.
What's the cost? You said it's cheaper to do it now. Like is it so cheap? Well, I don't know.
Well, to give you an idea, like I think in my lab I spent around $100 just to get gDNA, which I actually make it sgRNA.
I have no idea what that means.
So it's basically you have like a template of DNA, and from there you make RNA, and you keep that RNA and you use it as sgRNA, so the Cas9 can code to the gene of interest you want.
So you did this stuff for $100,
basically. Basically, but after that, you need to have like the whole machinery. You need to do a lot of sequencing. You need to take a look into the mutations. Then you need to take a look if like the Cas9 will cut in the sgRNA where your genome is.
So
because
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So one of the questions I actually have up to this moment with CRISPR is like, okay, the sgRNA is only 20 nucleotides long, right? 20 base pairs long. So you're trying to target a sequence of interest. So how do you make sure that this sgRNA is going to target your sequence of interest and not other sequences? Because it's like you can have the same sequence in another gene that encodes for another thing, and you actually do not want to knock out that gene. So that's my main question here with CRISPR. Like, it's like, are you sure that this sgRNA is gonna bind to your gene of interest and not to another area you don't want to?
Has that been tested yet?
I'm not quite sure, to be honest. But in part of my research, actually, I'm trying to send everything for sequencing. I'm gonna have the results pretty back soon, so I'm gonna have like some results. And
what about in
I will
humans?
be able to see. I got no idea how can that be applied in humans. To be honest, like there's like another topic in CRISPR which comes to primer design. That's another topic that's not like my specific area, but as more accurate your primer is, the more accurate your sgRNA is going to also bind to the sequence of interest.
So we haven't tested this in humans yet, so we don't know for sure, but theoretically, this is
it's possible. Yes.
Yeah.
This is like the stuff of the future. That's 100% sure. Some people, I'm like confident that they're trying this technology in humans. Like some scientists, I'm 100% sure that they've designed an sgRNA like with a specific binding they want, so it doesn't go anywhere else.
So this is really like a turning point in the human story in a way, right?
Yep. Like back in the 1940s, 1920s, like people were, it was physics because people were like, oh, the existence of molecules, or they were just discovering the elements. And now we have CRISPR in biology, which is actually a tool that can solve like health problems. So this is basically like, this technology is just born. So it's just going to evolve over time.
And now with like the way the 21st century has, well, I mean, technology in general, but everything is compounding. All the technologies are getting better and better, quicker and quicker. And it's not going to stop, of course, on that pace. And this is like profound thing that can impact the human phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
That's like really intense to think about, isn't
It's
it?
intense and controversial a little bit, right?
I wouldn't say a little bit, a lot, right?
A lot, yeah.
So this technology is available,
It's
and because
available, it's cheap, it's evolving over time, and it's like matter of time till people actually start applying it into humans. But there's also like the conspiracy theories, that goes behind all of this.
so name a conspiracy theory or
Why?
describe one
Okay,
of
one
them.
of these is like, um, okay, let's say diabetes, or let's say a condition. Okay, let's say a random condition. Okay, this pharmaceutical, for example, provides such a lot of medicine for people who have this specific condition. Let's say cancer. Okay, that's a really big one.
Okay.
Why would pharmaceuticals would like to cure cancer when they actually get millions and millions and millions of dollars from the treatments there?
That's a great
Right?
point.
Right. So up to this moment, I think like CRISPR is gonna stay in research mode, probably till for a long time, to be honest.
You
There's
think?
such a big
Wow.
controversy. Yeah, there's such a big controversy right now with pharmaceuticals that there is something that stopped us specifically.
So being sick is very profitable for a lot of
Way well profitable. Yes. Like for example, let's say like okay, let's say I contract a virus, I'm really, really, really sick, and I need some medicine. Actually, no, that example doesn't go with this, but let's say I have diabetes, right? And there's a way actually to cure diabetes over CRISPR, which I don't know if it's possible, but let's say there's a way to cure it.
Okay.
Right? Why will pharmaceuticals like us to cure diabetes if they get like tons of money from that?
Yeah.
Like the treatments and
Yeah. This has been exciting, but like I feel like there's definitely going to be like unless the pharmaceutical companies buy into if they're the ones doing it. Well, like you said how cheap it was, but like companies will find a way to make it be really expensive, right?
I'm pretty sure they will in the future, yes.
So what would you think is going to happen? Like your best guess?
My best guess right now is that CRISPR is gonna stay in research mode. And of course, people are gonna be publishing new papers about like, oh, I did this I CRISPR this in humans and all of that. But I think it's gonna stay like that. We're not gonna find like anything ultimate potentially like, oh, we're about to cure cancer with CRISPR or like that in like many, 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 many years.
Even though we could theoretically do it now.
Even though we can theoretically do it, I don't think it's gonna come out. Just because the amount of money like cancer is making like upon treatments.
So then do you feel people that are very wealthy could bypass that and then use this technology?
If there's like if there's corruption, basically yes.
Would that be like
I think it will be mostly corruption because you're like paying huge amounts of money just to get something that other people cannot,
But think of like we think of, say you get cancer. We
yes.
have kind of the standard process that people go through to treat cancer.
The chemotherapy, the pills and everything.
But that's not to say like you could go try this other thing, or like not CRISPR in general, but like any stuff that isn't considered like standard. What's the difference between like someone someone doing CRISPR as like what's not considered standard. Like, does that make any sense?
No, not really.
Okay. Like how soon before like general public mostly knows about this and like the term CRISPR is like used, like really pushed out there?
To be honest, like it can be years up to now. It can be like many years. I don't think it's not. I mean, it can happen years soon or in years, but my best guess is gonna happen in years that people actually start like find out about like, oh, CRISPR can cure this. Like we should get like CRISPR. We should get like CRISPR vaccines or something like that.
So right now, not a lot of people know about it.
I'm pretty sure they have heard the word CRISPR before, but I'm not quite sure if they know what it means at 100%.
So for things to really like move, you would need, say in America, right? You would need a majority in any country. You would need a majority of people to like know what it could potentially do.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Like, and as I said, if like America is gonna start like doing research in CRISPR, I feel that this topic should be like extremely closely looked at because like there can be like many complications here.
What do you mean?
No, like people starting to experiment in humans, and that will not look good.
But we
As
have
I
to
said,
do it
it's
at
like
some point, right? Or what?
I'm pretty sure it will be need to be done at some point. But for now, what I know is that they're doing this in mice.
So do you think like the first human that whose DNA is edited will be looked at and like their name, they will be like remembered forever in a way? The way like Neil Armstrong was the first to walk on the moon. Like,
Yes.
do you think?
Like I know, I'm pretty sure that in China, for example, they have been already working with this in humans, but they don't make it like open to the public. And
Oh
as
yeah.
soon as someone knows, I mean, as soon as someone like starts to do CRISPR in America and actually cure something which is actually huge, like cancer, yeah, I think this guy is gonna be like, his name will be like mostly known around the area.
So designer babies.
That's another like discrimination topic here.
So that's under CRISPR, right? That's designer
Yes.
babies.
Like let's say
Describe what
like,
designer babies is for
oh,
potentially.
okay, so by designer babies, imagine like this kid, like it's, I mean, after doing like DNA test and all of that, they already know it's gonna be born, for example, with Down syndrome, right?
Yeah.
You can use CRISPR actually to knock out that gene, as I said before, of Down syndrome of that baby, and that baby will not have like Down syndrome all over his life. He will have like a completely normal life, even though he was supposed to have Down syndrome. He doesn't have it anymore.
But you could also then, is it down the road where you could design your baby to have like this color eyes or this
Exactly.
feature or that
Yep.
feature? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, like yes, they can design actually the color of the eye color of your babies. Um, I'm pretty sure like hope in the future like there will be a way to actually edit the genes so it has like a, for example, a bigger phenotype. Let's say like, oh, I want my kid to be taller, and we
Yeah.
edit the gene so the kid will be taller.
So that's possible.
Well, by CRISPR it will be, because like some of the applications of CRISPR besides that gene knockout is the is to actually insert a new gene.
So that's
That's what
where
like
this stuff really gets
really begins.
interesting, I
Yeah.
feel like, right?
Yep. It's like, for example, like I think this will apply mostly for newborns, let's say, but um, imagine we find the gene that codes for your height, right? For
Yeah.
your height. And we'd say, oh, this is gonna be like probably 1 meter or 1 meter 50 tall. So I want my kid to be like 2 meter tall. We just use CRISPR, we cut off the gene, and we insert a new gene with those specific conditions.
So then, like, we hear the term like good genes. That person has good genes. She has good genes. He has good genes. Eventually, I mean, could we all just have whatever genes our parents designed us to have?
Yes, if like something as like CRISPR modified fetuses comes up here, yes.
So then it comes down to like the laws or the things around that. But like, what's not to say like, say China like creates their own, under the table. Like what like what, there's just like so many questions about it.
There is, right? Like, yeah, but mostly, the tensions right now between US and China, but China right now is like, I think they're like mostly closed within their information. They don't like the world to
Right.
know about it, right?
Right. Unless all of a sudden, like generations later, there's like all these like Superman type of, like you said, intelligence, right? You can edit to have more intelligence then.
I don't know if that's quite possible, but if there's a way to do it, like by CRISPR, you can.
Like in the Olympics, like all of a sudden, like how do you deal with the Olympics? If like
In
you
which
can,
way?
like if you can edit the DNA, like as babies to be, or what time do they do this? When they're like in the egg, or like before then, or after that, or
To be honest, like I'm not quite sure about that.
okay. So if you could design a baby to be taller or have more muscular DNA or whatever, like in the Olympics, is that like, could they not participate, or like how does?
I'll say that will be considered cheating. Do you think?
But then what if everybody's doing this and it's like an entire population of these types?
Then
Like
it
what
will
if that's the
become something
standard?
normalized. That will be like the new standard, right?
Right. So
And
then, and if we're alive during that time, won't there be like discrimination against us that aren't like these superhumans?
exactly, it will be like discriminate a lot of discrimination here.
So like what? Like
There's I mean, CRISPR is like such a good tool right now that we're actually looking forward for it over the next years. But at the same time, it's like a big controversial topic, right? Because
right.
like everything that can happen with this.
This like changes the course of like human existence, right?
Oh yes. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, to be honest, like, hopefully, like in my opinion, I hope that CRISPR up to this moment stays like in research mode. I don't want it to go like that much further just because of the complications that it can take in the future.
So you'd rather this take more time in research to find out exactly what we have
Mm-hmm.
here, how we're going to deploy it, rather than say like, you know, a company starts using it and just starts,
Yeah, I feel that
yeah.
we should spend like actually more time on research mode, like researching about CRISPR, its utilities, and all it can do before we actually started to apply to humans. As I said, this is like a brand new technology because we use it as technology. Yeah, but it's like a brand new technology which we actually need to have further studies about it.
So what's not to say though that like someone we went over this before, that it's harder to, with someone older, like work effectively, but could a like 80-year-old just be like, I volunteer to have this tested on me, or like is it that risky
Oof,
still, or what?
that's a big question. Like we don't know about that.
We just don't know.
We just don't know. But no, we just don't know about it.
So so how do we get to where we are now, to like
To
where
the
we want to
ultimate
be?
CRISPR editing. So I'll say like as soon as like more research is done, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be like a starting clinical trials within CRISPR and in humans. And after many years of that, there's not be a conclusion regarding that technology.
There's not going to be a conclusion, you said?
No, there's gonna be a conclusion regarding that technology, because like, okay, so do you know that a vaccine, like in these modern areas, usually they take like 20 years to show up in the market?
Yeah.
Same with CRISPR, like a vaccine and CRISPR, like two different things, but CRISPR has like way more appliances, right? So I think it will be like quite a long time till we actually see it in action.
So are you and I going to be able to use it though? Or are we going to miss out on that window?
Maybe yes, maybe not. As I said, more studies regarding this topic needs to be done, so we can like fully understand this.
Yeah, I think about that a lot, of like the digital revolution, computers and stuff, how we're kind of like on another side, like in like the human story.
Like biological evolution?
Well, like going digital, it's like human, it's what do I want to say? It's like on the other side of this. Like humans, we didn't evolve to be around like all these screens and stuff. And so it's like a very new thing. It's almost biologically now with CRISPR, it's almost like we're a new thing, and we're like straddling. It's putting a lot of importance on our own like lifetime and the time that we've been in. When you think about the thousands of years in human history, we are living right now in this like bridge to like another phase.
Yeah, as I said, I think we're gonna go into a biological era, maybe.
A what?
It's possible. A biological era where actually we start using CRISPR, new technologies start to evolve.
You said cholera. So what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Like
cholera? No. I said like
I
feel that. No. I said like I feel that a new biological era.
Oh, era. You said era. I thought you said cholera.
Pardon my accent. But okay, yeah, I feel that a new biological era is coming, and it's just like,
What is more exciting than biotechnology in science right now?
I'll say, well, to be honest, like, that's the only thing that's been going on my mind right now. It's like CRISPR, and more CRISPR. But in terms of biotechnology, I'm not quite sure, to be honest. Maybe like the bioengineering field has something to do with this, like quite a lot.
Like, I feel like this affects like a person so much. Like biotechnology is like, because we don't know anybody who has surpassed death yet, and it's like the fact, like, technology's non-biological, it's great, we expect it to get better and better and better, but like no time in like human history have we been like, we can, well, like, how do we move our expiration date further? Oof. Right, that's what we're like. I mean, that's the most exciting thing, right? It's like these technologies can come out, but like we live a certain amount of time, so it's not as intriguing as, hey, you could potentially like live longer and live healthier by eliminating stuff. Like that's like, that hits everybody at home, right?
It will be like the ultimate recipe for, the live forever.
It's like a step towards that, right?
Yep. Like I'm like, for what I know so far, like the life expectancy over the last like decade, hundreds of years has been changing just because we're getting more advanced with medicine, right?
Right.
And I think that's just gonna keep going up.
And we don't even know what we don't know yet with technology.
Exactly. Biology is basically such a new field, and it's just like keep evolving, to be honest. Like back in the days, it was physics. Right now, it's biology.
Wow. Yeah. So, go back to that. So it was like this century, the focus is on biology. The last century, it was physics.
Yeah, and after COVID, I feel that the biological field is only going to increase.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Because in research terms, that's for sure.
Wow. It really kind of like, what I'm thinking about a lot having this conversation is like how we're just like the human story is this long continuum and we're just on part of it. Like we don't know what's going to happen after us, or like it's like our story moves on no matter what we do, in a way. I don't know.
Right. And why I say this is also like super young. The DNA was basically recently discovered. It was not like such a long time ago. So that's why I say like this is like the this is a new era for biology.
Yeah. This is wild.
Wild.
Interesting.
Yeah, but also like because of COVID, like there's gonna be a lot of demands in other jobs. For example, bioinformatics, biostatistics, like everything biology related, probably.
Wow. It's a lot to process. I'm like processing it. Yeah, this has been a really insightful conversation. I appreciate you sharing all this with me.
No, of course.
My head is expanding. Well, then on a kind of a final note, then what's something you're excited about over the next 2 years?
I'll say mostly going to grad school.
What about in life? What besides grad school? But
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Are you talking about like in general, like for everyone?
Yeah.
So in the next 2 years, like I hope the COVID pandemic will be over.
Uh-huh.
But like every 3 or 4 months we have like a new variant. So
yeah,
hopefully there's like a point where it stops. So from 2 years from now, I hopefully that technology advances like a little bit more in terms of vaccines and all of that, just to fight the COVID pandemic, because like a lot of money is put into this just to get rid of it.
So these variants keep coming up. What, as someone in biology, like what is your thought on COVID, and if it like the variants? I don't know. I don't even know what I'm asking. My mind is so blown from the conversation.
From CRISPR.
Yeah.
But in terms of COVID, like I feel that there will be a point in which it will stop. That's for sure. I'm not quite sure when, but as soon more variants start to showing up, the less effective the vaccines will be.
Yeah.
Because right now we have Omicron, and Omicron, I mean, some data already says that Moderna vaccine actually fights Omicron, but Pfizer doesn't. So, okay. It's kind of like a game right now.
Yeah, that's something you love hearing. So that all these viruses are just a game.
Yeah, but pandemics have been present over all over our existence. It's right. Just like I feel I don't know why I saw like last time that actually a pandemic of this level actually happens every 100 years. In the 1920s, it was the Spanish flu, and right now we have COVID.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just part, and yeah,
it's part of nature. Yes.
Unless we can edit it out in the future, right?
It will be great, to be honest, but I don't know if that's going to be applied for viruses. Like the system of viruses is like completely different than the system in humans.
So
there's actually a section of biology called virology, which is the study of viruses. It's like a completely different organism.
Wow. So CRISPR, would CRISPR work for viruses eventually or no?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because like, as I said, the main purpose of CRISPR in bacteria was to defend against the viruses, like the bacteriophages, right?
Yeah.
But that's in bacteria, not in humans.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And there's like, in your human body, like there's so much going on, even things we don't know yet.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice to just know everything right now?
Oh, it'd be so good, to be honest. Yeah.
But we don't. So we have to keep working at it, don't we?
Yes. Yeah. It's just like, as I said, discovery, research, and more research.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks for coming on. This has been so fun. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for inviting me. I really like the conversation here.